Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat podcast, your one-stop shop for daily Miami Heat content. My name is Amir. For today's episode, I want to talk about an article that came out from Marc J Spears talking about Jimmy Butler and how Jimmy Butler requested a trade from the Miami Heat because he felt undervalued. So we initially thought it was because of his contract. He wanted to get that extension. He wanted to add one extra year on his contract. He had an expiring contract next season. He had a player option for next season, and he wanted to extend that. And Pat Riley said, let's have a wait and see approach. You've missed a ton of games. He told him to shut up after he said he would beat the Boston Celtics or the New York Knicks last season if he was playing and wasn't hurt in the playoffs. And all the animosity built up till the point where Jimmy Butler basically said he lost all of his joy and requested a trade. Jimmy Butler was standing in the corner, shooting one-legged threes, quitting on the Miami Heat team, and ultimately requested a trade. And the Jimmy Butler era in Miami, we know, is officially over, as Jimmy Butler played for the Miami Heat for 5 seasons. He took us to 2 NBA Finals appearances, and Miami finally decided to grant his wish and traded Jimmy Butler before the trade deadline. And it sucks because Jimmy said he felt undervalued, so it wasn't just the contract. It has to be the contract. He was saying some BS, like the offensive scheme completely changed, and it was just about him not being involved, which was, I think, ridiculous because he's still our best player. It's evident the Miami Heat suck right now. They're 7 games below 500. They're on a 5-game losing streak, which we'll talk about as well. But Jimmy Butler just felt like he wasn't involved, but he was load managing like he always does. He does that in the regular season. He never wants to be the number one scorer. Like, look what he's doing with the Warriors. They're 11-2 since acquiring him, and he's sitting back, letting Steph Curry run the show, and he's happy with that. So that's what Miami was trying to do to preserve him for the playoffs, was running more offense through Tyler, who's 25. He was 24 at the time before Jimmy got traded. Bam Adebayo, 27, are 2 max future cornerstone players. So what went wrong? Like, a lot went wrong with the front office, obviously, but Marc J. Spears just said Butler basically said he no longer saw himself as a centerpiece of their future. And at this point in his career, he wanted to be somewhere where he was truly appreciated. So I think that's why he was saying all that subliminal stuff. It's better to be wanted or whatever than liked or something along those lines during those press conferences. So Jimmy Butler gave everything to Miami. Like, he honestly did. Like, he could have given up a little more, obviously, but he played through injuries. He carried this team on multiple amazing playoff runs. He embraced Heat culture, and he did a lot with less. Like, he played and took Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, like Caleb Martin. He took a bunch of these guys, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. He took these guys to the NBA Finals as an 8th seed, which is remarkable. He did this in the bubble in his first season with a rookie. Tyler Hero was a rookie. Bam Adebayo was like in his 2nd year. He did this as a 5th seed and beat the Milwaukee Bucks and took the Miami Heat to the finals, beat the Boston Celtics, who were up and coming. Like, unfortunately, Dragic got hurt, Bam got hurt, and they ran out of gas and couldn't beat LeBron James, who handpicks every teammate he wants, and handpicked Anthony Davis, and they won a championship. So it really sucks. But the front office didn't want to give Jimmy Butler, $56-60 million, whatever, in his late 30s, because he's always missed 25 games plus for this Miami Heat, and they needed to do better in the regular season. And they weren't willing to give an aging superstar a max contract, especially when Tyler and Bam were considered their young stars. And they had to give an extension to Bam Adebayo, obviously. And at the end of the day, like, once that extension wasn't given, we should have known that this was going to happen. This is Jimmy's MO. Like, everywhere he goes, he basically tarnishes the relationship, essentially, or forces his way out. So Jimmy Butler looks more motivated. He looks happy. He's been crushing it with the Warriors, and they're the 6th seed now. Again, 11-2 in games that Jimmy Butler has played. The Warriors are on a 5-game winning streak. The Heat are on a 5-game losing streak. So switching gears, Miami Heat lost their 5th game in a row last night to the Clippers at home, 119-104. This team is just embarrassing. They're just bad. So it's like, I expected them to lose. I already keep saying this on every video. The Miami Heat are 9-24 now against teams that are 500 and above. So they're going to lose to those teams pretty much almost all the time. So what do you expect? At least the Miami Heat this game did not blow a double-digit lead. So the Miami Heat have blown double digits before this game. Fourth quarter leads 8 out of their last 9 games. Okay, so since January 2nd, the Miami Heat are 12-22. They're now 7 games below 500. This is the first time they've been under 7 games since the 2020-2021 season, Jimmy Butler's first year with the Miami Heat. So it's ridiculous. The Miami Heat have only 17 games left to figure this out. They're a lock to play in the play-in game. I would prefer them to be the 10th seed over the 9th seed so they don't get home court against the Chicago Bulls, who most likely will be their opponent, who they've played last year to get into the playoffs. Their prize last year was playing against the number 1 Boston Celtics and losing 4-1. I went to 2 of those games in Miami, which sucked because they got their asses beat after they actually miraculously won one single game in Boston after hitting like 53 pointers in a franchise record in a playoff game. And anyway, the Miami Heat are playing Boston next anyway. So this could be a 6-game losing streak. Then they're going to play Memphis and then the Knicks, and then they're going to play the Rockets. Then they play the Pistons. They're not going to play a bad team until they play the Hornets, which was the last bad team that beat the Miami Heat. After being up by 11 points in the fourth quarter, up by 17 in the first half, the Miami Heat recently lost to the Hornets, who were undermanned. But most recently last night, again, lost to the Clippers. Clippers were on the second night of a back-to-back. They were undermanned, which is a key theme here, that the Miami Heat suck so badly that they still lose to every undermanned team. No Norman Powell, who's averaging like almost 24 points per game. No Kawhi Leonard, who's been playing decent. Obviously, he's been dealing with his own injuries and load managing as well because of his knee. They also were missing a couple other players. I forgot who. Trey Mann and someone else. But either way, they still destroyed us. Zubac destroyed us. He had 26 and 14. He's been amazing this season, but he was 12 for 16 and 2 for 3 from the free throw line. And he did whatever the hell he wanted against Kel'el Ware, and Kel'el Ware's skinny scarecrow frame was not enough to hold up against Zubac, who's a beast. He went to town and he beasted on Bam Adebayo. It didn't really matter who was guarding him. Bam struggles against big guys. We already know that because he's not a center. But Zubac was one of the best players on the floor last night, which can happen. Harden, 6 for 20, shot like shit, but obviously got to the free throw line a million times, was 9 for 13. Still, 24, 8, and 11. He threw like 17 lobs to Zubac. Like, imagine if we had Harden with Kel'el and Bam. Like, we need a Trae Young Harden type point guard and guy who could score like that and also facilitate and get people in their spots. Because, like, look what he's doing with Zubac. He's making Zubac look like a prime, like, Patrick Ewing or something, like Alonzo Mourning. It's wild. Bogdanovic played like shit for the last like 7 games, but of course last night 30 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 11 for 16 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, 4 for 4 from the line. Did have 5 turnovers, but those 3 annihilated us. Amir Coffey off the bench, great name, Amir. 13 points off the bench, 5 for 7, 3 for 4 from 3. He killed it. The Miami Heat sucked. Only a couple players played good. That was Tyler Hero and Wiggins. Finally, Hero had a good shooting game. Only 2 for 7 from 3, but 13 for 23 from the field. I'll take that. 31 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 1 turnover. Tyler looked great. Didn't get any help really anywhere else because Bam had one of his worst games. Looks like he regressed again, but it's only 1 game. Bam's been playing amazing the last few months, or a month and a half at least. But he only took 7 shots, which is crazy. Kel'el took 4. That's 11 total shots, and Zubac shot 16. That can't happen. Wiggins continues to impress, but it's not leading to victories. I don't know why, but he's balling, and it doesn't mean anything. 22 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 9 for 17 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3, 2 for 5 from the free throw line. He had 3 blocks, playing amazing on defense, but 4 turnovers. He didn't look good. He looked good, but Bam didn't look good. Donovan Mitchell. I wish we had Donovan Mitchell. Davion Mitchell, only 17 minutes. He's out of the rotation in the fourth quarter for some reason. I don't know what Spo's doing, but who knows? Spo's been terrible this season for the most part. 6 points, no rebounds, no assists, only 2 for 4 from the field. Rough. Pelle Larsson looked great. Everybody's been talking about how he's like exuding Heat culture, diving on the floor and doing this shit that everybody should be doing in the NBA. But the Miami Heat, they have no passion. They're listless, and he's not. He's obviously fighting for a spot in the rotation. Played 28 minutes, had 10 points, 1 assist. He looked good, 3 steals. Duncan's been playing great off the bench, 15 points, 5 for 9 from three. No one else really did anything. So yeah, the Heat are in trouble. And again, we're on a 5-game losing streak, which is just really bad. And our schedule is going to get harder and harder. And it's better if we lose at this point. Honestly, I'm at the point where I don't want them to make the playoffs. I wanted them to, but I didn't want them to tank, and they don't need to tank. We've been saying this for weeks. They don't need to tank because they suck. They can't beat good teams. They can't beat bad teams at enough or a high enough clip. So they're probably stuck at 9 or 10. They could still get 8. They're actually not too far off, but I'm just hoping they could stay in that 9 and 10 so they don't get 2 shots to play. They'll have 2. They could lose 1 game if they're the 7th or 8th seed. If they're 9th and 10th, they can't lose 1 game. So that's what I want. I'm hoping the Miami Heat don't make the playoffs so we get that second pick. That way we can get a pick that's like number 11 or 12 or 13, whatever it may be. And we'll have the 20th pick or whatever it may be from the Warriors. Use those to package up to get a Trae Young type player, or maybe even have to use those for Kevin Durant, which would suck, but still. They want 3 picks. I don't think he's worth 3 at this age, but 2 at least for sure makes sense. And use that for Kevin Durant, use that for Trae, use that for any other superstar or all-star that becomes available, or consolidate those 2 picks and trade the 11th pick and the 20th pick, and maybe you can get like a 6th or 7th pick or top 5, maybe. Who knows? There's options. We get more assets, we get more capital, we get more options in the future, more flexibility. So anyway, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.